Right. What's good, bro?
Okay, cool. Everything is cool, man. How you feeling?
Good, man. Just well, considering all what we're going through right now, I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot going on. But yeah,
But I'm blessed. You know what I mean? I'm blessed to make it. You know what I mean? Blessed to wake up another day and see. You know what I'm saying? Hit the grind. Hit the pavement.
hit the pavement. Yep. Make it happen. Yeah, that's what's up. It definitely is a good time. It's a lot of great opportunities despite everything that is going on. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting time. Yeah, it's a creative time too, I would say.
That is
Yeah,
true. That is
a
true.
creative time.
So I'm speaking with Chef
Chef Deuce.
Deuce.
Yes. Deuce, Deuce. So you got to put the deuce in there.
Deuce.
There we go. Yeah.
Little emphasis.
There we go.
I'm Nathan Nice, man. You know what I'm saying? I do a podcast called the Kitchen Couch Podcast.
Word.
And a lot of people are thinking it's just about food, but you know what I'm saying? I'm the melanated Bourdain. So I'm like, you know what I mean? I like to kind of branch the food and the politics together. And I'm sure you come from a place similar to where I come from, where we wasn't really necessarily eating at a table. We was eating on the couch, shooting the politics from the couch. So that's kind of
Right.
the little bit of the gist of it. But I've been trying to serve a little bit of comedy in there too, because we all kind of
Mhm.
need a laugh. So just to tell you a little bit about my experience before I ask you a couple questions and start this.
Mhm.
I'm from up here in Seattle, born and raised. I, kind of learned about the culinary industry in like kind of a renegade type of way where I bounced around some of the like premier restaurants up here and kind of got hip to reading some books, watching some shows, studying some grades. Do a lot of practice, a lot of failure, and that's kind of how I kind of feel like I got to here. As far as my culinary journey goes. So I'm always interested, to get some chef's perspective and to get different people's perspective on here. So I see you doing your thing on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? The vegan. You know what I'm saying? I'm a vegan pescatarian. I'm soon to switch completely vegan.
I got
Pretty
you.
soon. I only eat like fin fish and all that too. So like I'm very limited in what I do eat if I do, but I'm really digging the vegan, you know what I'm saying, the plates and everything. So I want to give the floor to you and kind of start with a little introduction about yourself.
Mhm. Um, Man, Chef Deuce, of course, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Um, my introduction to any type of like health and wellness or getting my mind on that type of journey had to do with my dance. Actually, I was actually a professional dancer for like 10 years before I like tapped into like any of the I would say health and wellness ventures. So like I was in LA doing a lot of the crumping style, like
Oh shit.
choreography, working
Okay.
with artists and things like that. So in the midst of doing that, of course, like your body is so much important with dance. So a lot of the choreographers or people who I looked up to, like really focused on their diet, like and really focused on their food. So like I really got interested in that and just further took that journey. So went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York,
Mm.
and was really tapped into holistic um, herbs and being more of like a herbalist. So that was like my first focus. And so in LA, I worked at a health food store, Black owned health food store called Simply Wholesome. So I worked there for about 3 years, met a lot of amazing people along the way. And at that time, I was really new to the vegan journey. I think like maybe like years in, maybe 5 years in, somewhere around there. And I was bored with it, bro. Like I was just like, man, I gotta learn more recipes. I feel like I'm making the same thing over and over again. And so I ended up connecting because I worked with a lot of the community there in LA. I ended up connecting with the celebrity chef by the name of Lauren Vanderpool. And she was looking for interns. She actually heard about me, and I pretty much was her intern for years. And once I got into the kitchen with her, like it was a wrap. Like that's exactly how I knew that I wanted to like take the journey in more of the food and more of the vegan journey with the food. So like I didn't do like no culinary school. I didn't like do any of that. It was just more me like taking an intern under, you know, someone who really took the art of food serious and just gave me an opportunity to learn. And man, it's just been a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I've met a lot of amazing chefs along the way. I've trained along the way because, you know, remaining a student is still important. So I do train. I still train with other chefs just to be able to keep my craft right. But that was my introduction, man. And I'm down here in Atlanta, Georgia. I wanted to kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, I wanted to kind of like shift it because I'm like, you know, a lot of the vegan chefs or the raw chefs, you know, they kind of want to be in the areas where um, there's a big following with it, you know, and of course, Los Angeles, New York, places like that, Seattle, these are places that are huge on like the vegan journey. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
parts of the South are not, you know, they're still trying to kind of get more into the flow of that. So for me, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, let me go to the South. Let me be my own
Right.
trailblazer. Let me
Right.
create my own name. So that's what made me shift from LA to Atlanta because I get that all the time. Like, oh, what made you want to go to Atlanta though? You were in LA, and I'm like, you know, sometimes you got to go where the need is at. So it's been
Well,
beautiful. Atlanta's been great.
I mean, I also heard that, Atlanta's like really black entrepreneur city. Like, you know what I mean? You just seeing black people just owning shit and doing just whatever. I mean, it's kind of where you really see us not being monolithic in a big,
Right.
massive scale type of sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope because speaking on people, especially in the South, I know they love their pork, and that's, I think, the number one thing we need to move away from. Like,
Right.
and I'm interested to see how I've only been vegan for about 2 years, but I've practiced a little bit before then. I
Okay.
was always open to it, more so as I got older and stuff. And I always tell people like this just to kind of get people's minds a little bit different about it. Cause I think a lot of times they think, oh, I'm never going to have meat again or blah, blah, blah. And obviously that's the goal, right? To never have meat again. Obviously you're going to feel a lot better. But I trick my mind into thinking if I'm going to, veganism in a sense for me is like a fast, right?
Okay.
Essentially, I want to stay on this fast as much as possible. Like, and we're all not perfect, but um I don't, if I'm going to break for something, it better be the greatest, farm to table, freshest, you know what I mean, most
Right.
sustainable. Like I think a lot of times people go, oh well, I have to eat meat, blah blah blah, but then you go to the store and buy some, I'm saying, Fred Meyer chicken or like some Tyson
Right.
chicken or something, and that's not going to sustain you at all. And like I said, I'm not an advocate of eating any meat, but I always tell people, I'm like, look, if you feel like, oh, you still need to eat meat, just think about what types of meat you are eating. Like, and that's
Right.
how you could start right now. And that's how I started. I'm like, all right, if I'm going to have a beef sandwich or whatever, or I'm going to have some tartar, it better be exquisite, top
Right.
notch. And then you start realizing that a lot of the meat that you're eating isn't it isn't like
Absolutely.
that. You know what I mean? You're eating crab
Right.
singles and shit. You know what I mean? You're eating hot dogs and shit. Like, you kind of start, oh, I'm eating this cheap whatever bacon or whatever, what I'm saying, nitrates and all types of extra stuff that they're adding to it as well. And then when you start learning the history of pigs and you realize they're actually sacred animals, just like cows are too, like, very sacred animals, especially like in India and stuff like that. And they have a lot of uses. Like, you can switch your heart with a pig's heart. You can switch parts, and you can filter your blood through pigs' organs and stuff like that. So, just killing them for meat, it just seems a little bit, you know, inhumane, and it doesn't seem smart. Same with cows. I heard cows they have so many more uses than just being bred to eat.
Right. Right. Okay.
And I'm always interested to see, like, I mean, how did you get like, as far as making the full switch, how did you feel like you made that full switch? Like, did you have
Um.
to increment? Were you eating the fake meats and shit too, like I was?
Oh, you mean like the no, man? I've actually been vegan for 12 years. So like when the vegan was just kind of starting out, the journey of the vegan, um, I would say idea, there was no alternative meat at all. So there was like no Beyond Burgers. Like it's much more, I would say, easier to adopt the lifestyle than before. It was much more what you could create based upon live living foods, plant-based foods, or electric foods,
Right.
or foods that are alive. So
Alkaline.
right, right. So I think it's a difference between, of course, then and now. And yeah, it's a lot more creative. It's a lot more different. But I do think that those things are up for discussion, like the whole vegan concept. Like, what is that? Where did that come from? The whole plant-based concept. What is that? Where did that come from? So it's a lot of different things out there that are representing things, but they are different for everybody or
Right.
different for certain people. So um yeah, I think vegan is, it can become a little commercialized. I think the creativity in, different things like cheeses and stuff and how to make it is very creative. But I do want to like make sure that the narrative isn't like when the first thing you think about in vegan is alternative meat, because that's not healing, that's not transformation. We want to think
Actual.
about greens and kale and things that actually create optimal health. But and those things are not bad. We want to be able to evolve, but we want to evolve from what already has a foundation to itself. So got to get in those greens, man, those veggies, all those things that play a good role in your body too.
No, absolutely. Kind of my journey is, um, I was actually working at a vegan restaurant a couple of years ago, maybe what, 7 years ago now, something like that. Um, Maybe a little bit, maybe about 4 years, I'll say. This quarantine's got your head and timing and everything all fucked up. But I was working on this, and this is before I was totally vegan. And when I was there, pretty much working, I'd pretty much only eat vegan food until I went home. And then it was weird while I was, around that time, I caught diabetes type 1.
Mm,
I say caught because I was generally pretty healthy as far as I can see. And it
right.
kind of just made, going to the doctor, and the doctor's basically saying the same shit that they say. I mean, especially if you're melanated, they don't really care about us in the hospitals. But basically, what they tell you is, here's this medicine, take it. If you have problems, take more. If you have problems, take less. Like, that's all they tell you. They say, sure, diet, sure, exercise. They don't have any idea about anything. So I literally had to go on this journey completely by myself. And so I'm like, all right. So I started eliminating stuff, and I'm like, it started like with pork first, eating something, and just hit my
Mm,
stomach differently. And then I'm realizing how we treat animals and how we treat these things, and I'm like, wow, I align with this mentally. But then I started asking different, like, why don't we eat cats and dogs? We only eat this, but we look down on people for eating cats and dogs. And I'm like, you know I don't believe we should eat any of it, really. But what's the difference, right? you're killing this animal. That's not sacred. That's whatever, but that's food. And this animal is sacred. It's a pet. And so there's just so many like oxymorons in. And so, as far as the fake meat goes, I still spoil myself once in a while with some fake meat, but I think that's kind of how I had to jump into it lot like with my brain, because I was like, oh, you know at least I can get stuff that tastes like meat. And so that was how my brain had to switch. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
was blessed to kind of know enough. That was kind of like helping with those in between meals where, you're tired from cooking, you come home and you just throw a little burger in the fucking air fryer or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But now I totally feel you as far as going alkaline, and I really try to follow the Sebi, what Sebi has taught us before he's transitioned. It can be a little expensive, I will say, and that's the only part I kind of have. Once I can kind of totally just afford this, and I know health is wealth, so to make that investment, but sometimes it's like if you got $1 or whatever and you're trying to eat vegan, sometimes it's like, all right, I got to get the oatmeal.
Well, I would say too, like some things are a template, right? And so when you're thinking about Dr. Sebi, Baba Sebi, you're thinking about a person who is coming from a perspective of Caribbean life. So I live in Seattle. I mean, excuse me, you live in Seattle, I live in Atlanta. So of course, the list that he has is a template, but it's based upon where we actually live. So you have a lot of people trying to live the Caribbean lifestyle, which is difficult because I mean, we all know how much coconuts cost, right?
Right.
But when you buy it every week, it's gonna add up, and you're gonna be like, hold up, I can't do these coconuts as much. So we want to be practical. We want to observe it and say, okay, this is a template. I'm gonna abide by it, but I'm gonna see, what fits, properly at its proper time. You know, Atlanta has seasons. I'm not sure how it is in Seattle. There's levels to eating foods. Like, it during the wintertime, you don't want to be eating raw. In some way, shape, or form, you want to be having those more hot foods, those more circulating foods in the body because it's cold outside.
Right.
But then when it becomes summertime, then you can operate with the cooling foods, the juices, the fruits. It's much more practical to be raw. So,
That's true.
I only say these things only because, like, man, I know a lot of people kind of like stress themselves with the journey and trying to, live, of course, the blueprint, because Dr. Savies is definitely the blueprint, but we got to try to make the blueprint our own, you know what I mean? And how it fits us, and just make it fun, man. Like make it, I try to make it fun, and explorative and um, uh, just a vibe. Food
Right.
should be a vibe. It should be like a vibration. It should be taking you out of your element, like your day to day, and just putting you into where you want to try to be. So that's how Cosmic Cuisine tries to vibe with things, just taking you out of your everyday and putting you into a different mind frame, so you can just put yourself in an experience mode.
Is that the
So,
name of your restaurant?
huh?
Is that the name of the restaurant?
No, man, Cosmic Cuisine, is actually a business that I created. It's more of like a private chef catering company. But as I continue with the business, man, I'm learning that Cosmic Cuisine is more like a movement. Like it's more like a vibration about the food that you're eating. You know what I mean? And transcending from it just being like nutritional food. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Like we kind of have that narrative now. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, let's take it up a notch and start getting to the visual aspect, the art aspect, the aesthetics of the food, the imagination, and where we can take it, so it can be, a whole experience and not just the nutrition part, which I think, only keeps us in one area when it comes
Right.
to, this particular God food. If we call it a God food, we gotta represent it in its highest form. So
Mm. Mm.
that's where I'm at now with it with my journey, man. Like, yeah, it's been a I've learned a lot from last year.
I was gonna say too, not going to culinary school. I think that kind of it's. I feel like it's good and bad. You know what I mean? Like, but it's good because when I see your plates, I love the rustic, non-traditional plating style, and it's so beautiful, and it's its own like like I feel like when you go to chef school, it's kind of like they give you a picture to paint, and then you got to paint that picture as well as you can. So like
Man,
for instance, like you know I, I kind of grew up like learning French culinary, so in a way it's like kind of stunted a little bit. Like when you coming
bro.
over your procedures and certain things, it's like, oh, you kind of are like, onions have to go this order and this has to go, and so it kind of stunts you in a little bit of a way. So I had to, take back. And luckily, I worked with one thing that really changed my cuisine is working at a Japanese place.
Mm-hmm.
Really changed my whole. It's very similar to French, but also just playing with more the taste of the actual item too, as a whole ingredient, is really big in the Japanese. Um, Culture as far as food culture goes. But I was gonna ask you, as far as God food, have you explored like mushrooms and different types of mushrooms in your cooking and foraged foods and stuff like that?
I mean, yeah, like baby vela mushrooms is good, oyster mushrooms are good, shiitake mushrooms are good. So yeah, man, those things are always good to be able to create with. They're flexible as well. They're like universal. So yeah, I'm always operating with the mushroom vibe. So
Or like
yeah,
a lion's mane? Have you played around with the lion's mane?
not necessarily as like a produce, but like in tincture form, I may use it for certain types of soups or things like that. I haven't done those things usually unless like I have like a client that actually wants me to operate on something like that, like mostly like requested. But yeah, yeah, we're doing all those things with the food and yeah, trying to take it to the next level. But to piggyback, man, on the traditional, yeah, man, like because for me too, like I thought that was so important. Like even when I took the internship under Lauren, like her clients was like Venus and Serena Williams, Common. So like
Wow.
interning with her, like I was catering for those cats. You know what I mean? So I didn't have time to like learn plating, but I knew the energy of the vibe of what she was creating or what the ambiance was already. It's easy to pick up that vibe to create what is needed for the area. Like dope teachers don't always necessarily teach you like boom, 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 boom. Sometimes being in the right energy or in the right room with the right people will spark that vibe. Like, and so I thought it was real important in my journey to work at kitchens. So like here in Atlanta, like even before Cosmic Cuisine was birthed, like I worked at one of the illest, at the time, raw food vegan restaurants called Tassili's Raw Reality. I
Mm.
got a chance to rock that and create it. So I only say that because I thought it was important to at least have that part of the journey. But I would work with people who had that history. And like I would be in the kitchen and they would totally mess up on the meal. And because they were not flexible and they were taught, they would throw it out and
Right.
they would start all over again. And
Right.
when I went to Jamaica a couple of years ago to study under Aris Latham, which is a raw food, like he's like the master of raw food
Wow.
vegan. I'm not sure if you know who he is.
Mm-mm.
He's been like raw for like close to 50 years. He hasn't drank water in 30 years. And
What?
I met him in Ghana for the first time a while back, but I went to study under him in Jamaica. Man, if you ever get a chance to research him, please do, and I'll send you his information.
Please.
But anything you want to learn about the raw food journey, he operates on it and he teaches classes. But that's what when we trained with him, that's what he was teaching us, like everything traditional kind of throw out so you can learn how to be flexible,
Right.
in your food. And so I think both are really good, but the freestyler, he's the illest. Like you can't really, because the freestyler will be able to learn traditional if he wants to, but it's very hard for someone who learns traditional to know how to freestyle.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's based off the journey though. It's all beautiful at the same time. Like it all has its workings.
Right. It all has its place. You know, I love the freestyle cooking. That's kind of my style now. After working in the food industry for about 10 years, 11 years ish. Um, One of my favorite things to do is just kind of see. I kind of just buy up a bunch of produce, and then I kind of will decide my meals based on what sauces I have and what ingredients I have and how to just prepare it in different ways. And so I've just been kind of, I feel like it's been a little bit, maybe a year since I looked at a recipe book, and now I'm kind of now getting back into looking into other people's recipes and
Okay.
just different ideas. I would recommend for you I mean, just in general, because it's a dope ass book. It's called the Culinary Institute of America's textbook. It's just a
Mm.
cool book. I mean, you're not breaking down fish and lamb and stuff, but it's just really cool. Just like
What's the name of it?
the Culinary Institute of America.
Hold on.
It's a textbook. I'm gonna grab my tincture too. I'm gonna show you.
No, I don't have that one. No, I don't have that one. I have another one. It's called The Professional Chef. Like, actually, a neighbor got it for me. It's like this thick. It's like super super huge. But okay, yeah, definitely.
The Joy of Cooking too is another one where it's like one of those things where it's like so classic French. It's ridiculous. Like the foods that and that you talk about God food, this is not God food. Like just the most disgusting food, but they serve it in the most elegant way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
The
Yeah.
chitlins,
that's the thing.
everything.
That's the thing. Like finding that balance between where like it's flavor, like amazing flavor. Like I did before, of course, the pandemic went. I actually went to Spain to go train with some yacht chefs. Actually,
Wow.
it was on an island called Palma de Mallorca, Spain, right off of Madrid. And man, we learned so much in regard. And it was just cool chilling. Like it was like a chef from like Kuwait, just different chefs, and I got invited, and it was just all just cooking and learning. Like it wasn't like a school or anything like that. It was more like, hey, you want to come out here? It's a couple of chefs coming together to just vibe. But I
Wow.
learned the importance so much about like flavor profile, like and how that plays a big part in how you're going to operate with certain type of foods.
Right.
And getting those techniques are really cool, but creating it in a freestyle manner, I'm
Yeah.
learning is like what makes the person so ill. Because even my teacher, Lauren, like she went to Cordon Bleu, like in Paris at the time, but she was a vegan. She wanted to be a vegan chef, but she was able to take all of that science that
Right.
she learned there and
Right.
create it on a vegan tip. So it just makes her so much more ill in the game. So man, I'm thankful for the love in regards to just the info, because the more you can learn, the more you can just kind of create it and make it your own.
Definitely.
Because
Definitely,
it's
man. That's freaking amazing. Did you meet any chefs from the Basque country? Because some regard so it's like Basque country is basically somewhere between the French Alps and Spain or something like that, and
okay.
they speak their own language. They have their own, and it's just a very, but it's regarded as like a super. high end food if you can find it. It's kind of like there's not a lot of people from the Basque Country left. It's a lot
Okay.
of people are mixed together with other things or whatever. But it's an island somewhere between. I don't know the geography exactly, but I know it's around France or Spain. I'm pretty sure it's
Hmm.
Spain, and so Basque region is a different one of those high upper echelon foods. But one way that I've been trying to elevate my food, as far as even being, I don't really like the term plant based, but some people do. So plant based, I'll say. I've been foraging a lot of foods, especially like mushrooms, and learning about how they grow and growing some, and just trying to figure out, you know, not only a little bit more on the holistic health side, like tincture side. So, like for instance, I studied, how to pick turkey tails, and we made our own tincture.
Okay.
So right now it's like stewing. You know what I mean? It's pretty much ready to go. Grew some lion's mane, and we made a tincture out of that. Looks pretty crazy in there. Like,
Hmm.
um, definitely ready to harvest it and use it. That's one
Okay.
way. And also just kind of breaking the narrative that Black people, we love nature too.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, of course, man. That's why, like, man, I also want to try to push the narrative how important it is for like chefs to have relationship with farmers, like, and creating that from farm to table feel.
Hmm.
And like, as you know, like I use a lot of edible flowers. So
Yeah.
like I'm trying to be more on this pilgrimage. Like I want to start growing my own edible flowers. But then too, like I'm creating this narrative where I'm giving people insight on edible flowers, not only like is it good for you to eat, but like the medicinal properties of it and the spiritual properties of it as
Mm.
well. Because a lot of the plants that we're eating have nutritional properties, but they also have spiritual properties as well. So
Mm.
it's like we got to go a little bit more into like what we have than just staying on the surface of the nutritional aspect of a lot of the foods that we have, because they're grown in abundance you can replenish them, which means that there's a lot of energy that's put out with the food. And that's one thing that a lot of chefs like me and others who operate in vegan and raw food, you got to make sure that you're operating on a certain type of energy too, you
Right.
know, because you're dealing with alive food and your body is alive. It's electric. So, in saying that, it's just so important to stay on that level because we have a specific responsibility. So that's why I reference it as God's food, because you can grow it in abundance, like all the time. You can pick it. It's
Right.
something, like Aris has he has a school called Sunfire Foods, where the food is kissed by the sun. It's already cooked without it having to be fired. So
Mm.
that's why the plating, the visuals, the aesthetics are so important, because you got places like the Cheesecake Factory, all these places that do meat and salmon and beef and all that, and they come out, and they plate it and it's beautiful. But we all know what that sort of food does when you eat it consistently over time, right? But
Right.
then when you get a vegan dish, it doesn't have the same energy. It doesn't have the same
Mm.
presentation. It's like this is nutritional food. So, I'm saying that because
Mm.
cosmic cuisine is trying to be one of those experiences where we're pushing the envelope and we're saying let's kind of do more of why we feel so important with the food, and how we present it. There are no vegan Michelin star chefs, like coming from specific areas. There's no,
Wow.
vegan chefs that are on shows, where we can reflect what we actually do. So there's still a lot of more work, that needs to be done.
Facts.
I love Chef's Table. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
but Chef's
it's good. It's a little bit blase. Not, you know what I mean? It's a little bit too like bougie for me. as far as but I love the learning from it. But we have like one of those chef's tables restaurants in Seattle, and it's, I don't know, like you said, it kind of lacks a little bit of soul. And
Right.
I haven't seen the whole show, so I'll have to go back and look and really like take it. I'm really like a big fan of like ugly food, or
Oh, okay.
Anthony Bourdain is like my favorite. He's one of my favorite chefs. But yeah, you're right. There's not really that many vegan chefs really to look on. You kind of have to like take whatever shit they're working with and kind of like, okay, well, I could use an eggplant this way, or I could use whatever, and like you were saying about the energy, I'm definitely going to keep that now more in mind when I'm plating and cooking the food. But I totally agree with you, and just like reading about alchemy and stuff, and how you're a conductor of energy, like you were saying, you feel me, like real talk.
You are the magician. Like you're like, man, I know every time I tell people this, I know it's like really, really bad to say. But when I'm making food, that's when I'm the most present.
Hmm.
And I know
Hmm.
we all work on trying to be present in everything that we do. But literally, when I'm in the zone creating the art, that's when I'm the most present. So it's it's much more of a creating something out of nothing. Like you're actually creating it, and you're creating a visual, so people, you're changing the emotional space that people are in.
Hmm.
So the responsibility is there, but it's also
Hmm.
you enjoying it. You enjoying it at the same time, you know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but experiences are the name of the game right now when it comes to the food. People want that. They want to enjoy that. They want to see that. Like I've been having this whole like Basquiat feel. Like
Mm.
I studied Basquiat for years, like a while back, but then like he's resurfaced. So I've been like lately, if you've been seeing my food, they've been on like wood pallets. Like I haven't been wanting to zone out on no white plates. I've been like no confine, just boom, like let me just give you the straight art, and just people been loving it. So
Mm.
it's putting the zone back into the art of food, because it is how an apple, how a banana, how all that grows is art, because none of the fruits grow the same.
Right.
So
Right.
art creates the imagination, right? In imagination, you can take yourself or any place you want to be in food, or any place, period. So that's cosmic cuisine. In teaching you how to fortify yourself to learn the discipline you want for your journey. So cosmic cuisine coming and telling you, oh, you should not eat beef because it's going to do this to your body. Like, you'll never see that post, bro. Like, all those things is not a way for us to get on the vegan journey for like a fear tactic. Like
Factual.
my way in getting you on the vibe is to show you the visuals for you to use your imagination to go, damn, I
Mm.
wonder what that tastes like. Like I'm not vegan, but just what I'm seeing, I'm loving it. And so now I feel like I've done my work. Not only just sparking your imagination, but wanting you to try something different, because that's really what I'm providing, like an alternative. I'm not trying to convert you, or convince you. I'm
Right.
just trying to have you see an alternative world for you to seek optimal health.
Right. Right. And what you were saying too. People are forgetting about the dance, the culinary dance. Like when you get into that mode where everything's already prepped, it's time to go start plating all the food that you prepped all day and did all the stuff, marinade and all that. That dance, especially when you get on that and you talk about that presence. I haven't worked in a restaurant since maybe March of last year. My thing shut down, so I've been mostly
Mm-hmm.
plating in the house or plating outdoors. So, but I do miss that. Just okay, I got this hand, and you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
one of the best things I've always learned is like never have an empty hand, and like one hand dry, one hand wet type of thing. And so you just kind of like all right, this is my clean hand, this is my dirty, you know what I mean, or whatever. And you kind of, I'm really good about sanitization. Is kind of one of my specialties too, just making sure, especially, and I think that's so underrated when it comes to cooking vegetables. When I made the switch, I can tell you it's like 100 times easier to clean my kitchen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I don't have to wipe up butter or freaking, there's just little things
Yeah.
that people don't know. And like you said, it's not about trying to push somebody into a certain narrative. It's like you said, creating that experience, the vibe, letting people know that, you know, vegetables can be a main course, not just a side dish. Um
Right. Right.
and I was watching, Guy Fieri's grocery games, and I was totally thinking that. I was like, what if you were vegan on there? And he's just like, all right, you got to kick pork ribs with, I'm saying shrimp and this and that. You're like, I can't even taste this food if you know what I mean, or like, can I cook it? Like, I don't know if and like you were saying about energy processing. One thing that I started noticing is that when you're processing something that's dead, and and in the Northwest, there's there's a big hunting culture, right? So like, I totally respect hunters and stuff like that. I feel like that's the only way to eat meat, period. If you go and hunt it yourself, that's the
Yeah.
only way that you can convince me that it's okay. You went and you did carnage, you did all that shit yourself. Okay, I feel that. You know what I
But
mean?
here's the thing though. Here's the thing too. Like you're absolutely right. Because if you think about it, like the true carnivore, when they're killing and when they're having the meat, you're getting most of the nutrients of the meat when you're eating it in its raw form. And
Right.
you can tell that that's something that you naturally eat. When you kill something and you have to season it and put the sauce on here and put all that, you already know naturally this is something that you know you should not be eating because of
Right.
all the dressing up you
Yep.
have to do just to consume it. So, you
Exact.
know, we're still learning. You can
Yeah.
tell there's some conditioning there,
Right.
but
Right.
people are starting to learn it just based upon like what it looks like, what it tastes like. And that's piggybacking like on my transition of me stop eating like the meat and transitioning. Like it, bro, it was like I seen a piece of chicken. That was like I can't remember where I was. I was in LA. It was like a sports bar, and I like had like wings and stuff and fries. And the wings came out, and I looked at the wing, and I can't even, it was so big, like it was so huge, and I looked at it and I was like, that's it. Like I remember that was one of my sparks in me saying I can't eat that food just based upon the size and how it looked. It didn't even look like it was chicken, man. So
Uh,
um,
that's
you
funny.
know,
One of the last times I broke was, I think, it was during the one of the protests last year, and I was like, okay, whatever. Like it was like a fried chicken sandwich, whatever, and I was like, oh my god, this looks hella good. I'm gonna break. I literally like I ate it like a pig. Like I literally, because I didn't eat meat for like a whole year, and then I broke that one time, and I was like, all right. I literally was just like, "Grr," and then I like literally went to go get my girl's sandwich, right? I took a bite, and I literally like, what is that shit called? The tendon and the fucking. I was like, nah,
ooh,
son.
yeah.
And I'm like, of course a white dude fried it, but I was just like, I'm like, I couldn't. After that point, I'm like, I don't think I like, and especially once you understand how like chickens and their emotions, like one thing about chickens is they have the craziest emotional senses. Like they actually have a pecking order and all this just craziness. And like if you're eating that craziness, you're digesting that too. And I'm like, yo, I don't want them type of problems, you know what I mean? And I think part of it is what I'm telling people, like on this journey to eat cleaner. I think when you see how we're conditioned in the hood to eat a certain way, it makes sense why we react a certain way sometimes too. React too quickly. Your mind's
Yeah.
not thinking straight. You're not getting the nutrients that you need to be able to make a conscious decision sometimes. And obviously being in a food desert is a whole nother thing. I don't know if you guys have as many down here, but I kind of live in a food desert. That's one of the and somebody was like, "What is a food desert?" I'm like, "Well, if if pretty much 9 out of 10 of your options are fast food, you live in a food desert." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If you have two grocery stores and maybe like 20 vegan products, you live in a food desert. You know what I mean? If you're getting the same food, fruit and vegetable all year long, you probably live in a food desert. You know what I mean? You getting apples, or excuse me, apples grow around here all year long, but you getting like something like jalapenos, like, what I'm saying? You're just like, is this even, I don't even know. So I think one thing I'm going to do is try and grow my own food, but also when I get some money, I'm definitely going to invest in a black owned grocery store. And I heard Atlanta is actually working on one if they didn't actually get that. Did they get one?
I mean, we have one called Wadada's. It's a grocery store. It's still growing too, but yeah, you can get like good essentials there as well. Um, but yeah, that planting and growing your own food, man, that's definitely gonna be much more of the wave. Um, yeah, yeah, but then just making sure that you're getting what you need too, and just all the nutrients like the juicing and the smoothies are a lot more easier for your body to digest than consuming even the raw foods, or the vegan food, because there are a lot of people who can't consume a lot of kale because it backs up their digestive system. They are constipated, so it's hard for them to have an easy bowel movement.
Hmm.
So, it's just learning the body, understanding where the body is. Um, yeah,
One thing I
it's
was gonna ask, I've been looking for a coffee alternative. I've gone back and forth. I'm from Seattle, so coffee is in my blood. You know what I mean? We're a big, huge coffee city, coffee snobby city. But I want to make the switch because I can feel now when I'm connected with my mind and body. I notice that coffee doesn't give you, it gives you like random energy. It doesn't give you concentrated focused energy. So you just be jittery moving quickly, but you're not
yeah.
necessarily like, okay, what's the next? Like when I take my lion's mane, you could tell the difference then. But I was wondering if you had like a coffee alternative or like any sort of what do you do in the morning to get you energized?
Well, a good coffee alternative or something that's going to be as similar to give you the same type of effect but more conscious, I would say is maca root. I'm not sure if you ever heard of maca before,
Yes.
but it increases energy, of course, the libido and other things. Because really, all that coffee is caffeine that goes and shoots straight to the brain, and it just creates like energy. That's doing the same thing. It's not going to have the same buzz, but it's going to do the same thing on a much more healthier tip. I really don't drink too much coffee. Well, I don't drink coffee at all, really.
Right.
Um, I do kind of stick with more of the fresh pressed juices in the mornings, kind of breaking that fast a little bit. But I have recently been finding myself eating breakfast, and I don't even eat breakfast, but
Hmm.
like that as far as like consuming it. But normally, to answer your question, like it's really just a liquid, or hot water with some lime or some lemon and tea to get the body more alkaline to balance. So I'm not trying to eat as so early.
Hmm.
But more of the juices, more of the greens and the citrus juices, like the tangerines, things like that are going to give you the energy that you need for that morning time.
Mm.
And your body's going to respond to it in the right way.
Mm. Okay, that sounds dope. All right,
Yeah.
before I let you get on with your day, I know it's late over where you're at. You know what I'm saying, in the A. You know, I wanted to know. Okay, so I love dates. I just wanted to know what's your favorite thing to make with dates,
Oh, you mean like dates, like the dates,
like the medules or whatever.
like the datey date? No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Um, what do I like to make with dates? Smoothies are always good to make with dates. You can you can create like a date garnish. Like you can cut dates up and create a garnish to where you're kind of like um, uh, you can kind of saute the actual date, like the don't when you're peeling it, just keep the hard shell. And I would use it as like a sweet garnish on like a pie or like a pudding or just something like that, to bring that warm breaking down feel. Um, I'm thinking garnishes right now. I'm not necessarily thinking what I can do with the actual um, date. Um,
I have to try it in a smoothie. I don't think I've. Maybe I tried it only once.
oh, really?
Yeah, I love dates though. I actually have date sugar is really good. Um,
Yeah. Date. I mean, a smoothie, especially like the chocolate or the vanilla smoothie, like some good coconut or almond milk, dates, cinnamon, um, a little bit of vanilla extract, or like a good like chocolate or vanilla protein powder if you choose to be able to have something like that. Another thing I do with dates is like a crust for pies. When
ooh,
I'm doing it for like I'll create like a raw pie or whatever pie I want to create with like some oats and like some dates with some olive oil and just kind of rub it and make it stick a little bit. But dates are good because it's a natural sweetener and
right.
it helps to balance high blood pressure as well.
Mm,
Yeah, it's really good for blood pressure because um, we need a certain type of sugar, a certain type of glucose for energy for our body to burn while we throughout the day. So, I mean, you can get it out of natural fruits, but things like dates, stuff like that are still really good to eat to get the natural sweets that your body needs. But not to go crazy over them, but you can, once a day or twice or two a day is really good too, if you can get those.
yeah. See, I've been trying to work my way up to. I've only done up to 3 day fast, water fast or liquid fast, fresh juices and all that, and um, I'm trying to figure out how to get up to it so I can kind of do it a little bit more because I what I like to do is do it and then break, like, just with like maybe some vegan junk food and then go back on it. That's kind of what
Mm.
I feel like it would be way better for my body to kind of stay mostly into that groove, and then eventually I'm not gonna be wanting to break as much for anything. And so just any advice for like how to, you were saying the hot water and the limes, I didn't even know about that. My mom always drinks the hot water. She said, helps her go before she
Oh
goes
yeah, that's
to
what I'm
work.
saying. But no, she gonna live for a long time because man, that like I said, that stabilizes your pH balance in your body. So it's like it's always going to be neutral. It's always going to be good, and that's the way that's the way you want your body to. You don't want to be too alkaline, but you don't want to be too acidic either. But as far as answering your question with fast and the length of time and things like that, man, the biggest thing I've learned is like um, the day to day and the environment. So
Hmm.
it's like a lot of people try to fast, but they have a lot of things going on during the day. And that's
Right.
the hardest thing to fast. Like fasting is more of a personalized thing. So it should be like more intimate and more or less doing and more like time with self. And then the environment, like, people fast and sometimes go to environments that will kind of like trigger their fast. So it's like, going to
Hmm.
secluded areas or like somewhere out of the city a little bit, more in nature. I think it's more like a metaphysical approach to it, like
Mm.
thinking more of it on that type of level, like the like I said, the environment, things like that are I think will be like easier for the person to tap into the fast. Because you're dealing with the discipline of the mind. So it's like when the mind is vulnerable, like if it's fasting, okay, it wants to eat. So now it's really vulnerable. So we want to put it in environments where it's not vulnerable, where it can kind of stand and be firm. So, you
Mm.
know, that's kind of like what you want to do to prevent. It's all about prevention. Like, what can I prevent from making this happen? So yeah, that would to answer your question.
Definitely. No, now I'm getting all these ideas about like, because my whole thing is like, how do you start a fast, and my success has been the day before kind of being like, okay, here's your day to kind of mental health care day, kind of like, okay, here's my day to eat whatever I want as far as, junk food. And then I can kind of like, coast down from that, and it kind of helps me go further. But sometimes that doesn't always help either. So I'm just always in the mood for, or looking for new techniques on how to just be better person overall. But
Right.
I know
Well,
I know that
mhm.
fasting really helps me, at least every couple days, even if it's a liquid fast or something. But I'm trying to get up to 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, take the emotion and take the emotion out of it. That's
Definitely.
one way too. Cause that'll, like what I want to say about that is like um just the feelings about the fast and more of like the reasoning why you're doing it. Or like that's the easy way to start it too. Like what do I envision? Like what do I see? Like what's the reason for the fast? But then like what's the benefits of the fast? Like the practical benefits. So it's like, of course, I mean, from my experience with fast, the one thing that it benefits is the body. Like other than that, um,
It
it
benefits
can
the
be.
mind.
Well, I mean, you can operate a strong state of mind without the fast too. So it just depends. It depends on the person. It's the state of the mind of the person. If they believe that a fast is going to help their mind and it works for them,
Mm,
you
yeah,
know,
that is true.
but
You have
it's
to put
not it's
yourself
not it's
elsewhere.
not necessary. Like there's nothing that really says that if you fast, your mind will be operating better. Because we know people who fast and they still got the kind of like the same thing going on with themselves. So I think it's a state of mind of
Mm.
the person who's doing the fast. Um, yeah.
Definitely helps you to be more disciplined for sure, too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, definitely, man. I appreciate you, man, dedicating some of your time, man. Just come on the kitchen couch and just, what I'm saying, while I'm burning my L, you know what I mean, and just trying to talk, just trying to talk about bettering ourselves and good food, and hopefully next time we have this conversation, I'll be able to
Yeah.
present a plate for you and just kind of um I'm thinking maybe something like foraged would be super dope, but just kind of like been working all day here, do this, go here, that,
Right.
hit the computer. So it's just been all over the place today. But like I said, I appreciate you, man, taking your time. Do you have anything you want to shout out or anybody you want to give thanks to?
Oh man, I'm just thankful for the platform. Thankful for you for reaching out, man. Many more to come. Keep up the good work. Thank you for looking at my work, and yeah, man, just keep the journey alive. Have fun with it, and yeah, that's it, man.
Man, I appreciate you, man. We're going to stay tapped in, bro. And I'm going to let you know when I drop this, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
All right. One love, bro.
Peace.